What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back to another Resplendent review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Merric, and this is going to be a comprehensive review on him and the kind of builds that you can run on him in the modern times. And as always, I'll have a special bonus segment at the end of this video regarding Merric, if he was better and if he got a re-refine. So if you guys do enjoy these consistent Resplendent reviews, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe. Helps out the channel a lot, and with that said, let us begin. So Merric is a launch unit and he's a green infantry mage, and we don't really have too many green infantry mages in the free-to-play 3-star 4-star pool, but still Merric has always not really stood out that much because of his low attack stat. So the Resplendent stats definitely help Merric a lot, because Merric is definitely a unit who can use all of his stats, especially at max investment, and because of his low base attack of 26, having any kind of extra help is really nice, especially when he also has an attack super boon in it. So Resplendent stats are honestly a huge help for a unit like him, and the reason why Merric doesn't really stand out that much is because he got one of the earlier refines in Excalibur. So it is effective on flying units and it does give him -1 special cooldown, and this is pretty much the best part about it, because the refine is really lackluster because it requires a mage or a staff unit to be within 2 spaces of Merric to get +5 attack and speed. So nowadays units just get +5 to all of their stats just for existing, and here you pretty much need to have specific units within 2 spaces of him to only get attack and speed, when he would also appreciate some bulk because Merric is not frail by any means. So this weapon refine isn't really all that spectacular. The best thing about it is pretty much the -1 special cooldown and also the flying effectiveness, which can definitely be helpful in something like Arena Assault. Dark Excalibur on the other hand definitely gives him a lot more options for nuking, because it is pretty much going to be giving him +10 true damage whenever he triggers his special, and it also gives you a -2 special cooldown at start of turn 1. So it's incredibly good for having him as a budget Sonya in a way, because Sonya is a 5-star logged unit and is not really as easy to merge up. Merric on the other hand is available in the 3-star 4-star pool, but still after the Resplendent stats, Merric is going to be behind her when it comes to the pure raw attack stat. But other than the attack stat and resistance, he's better than everything else. He's got better HP and also has better defense, which is really good, and he's also a bit faster. Sonya does have high resistance, but I would argue that having high defense like Merric is actually going to be helping you in many of the matchups where the threats are physical, like Legendary Crom for example, or Brave Hector, who are all going to be physical, so Merric can definitely use that extra defense. When it comes to free-to-play mages, Merric is definitely one of the more unique ones because he's bulky and he's also fast. Bowie is also bulky, but he's not really as fast, so Merric has that kind of niche, but overall his low attack stat is definitely going to be holding him back in the modern times where we just see so many extremely bulky units, and there are a lot of premium mages present that can work extremely well even at low investment, at low merges or just +1 merge, because they have fantastic preferred weapons and they already come with a really good base kit. So Merric is definitely going to be facing that competition, because Merric requires a lot of heavy investment with merges, dragon flowers, and also premium skills to really function well, and usually you're not going to be seeing him used on a budget with low merges or low investment. Just to give you a perspective, Aspel is a Gen 5 green mage, and even at max investment, Merric just barely beats his offenses and he's still 1 point slower. Not to mention Excalibur is basically a better Excalibur, having the same -1 special cooldown, effectiveness, and just requires any ally to be present within 2 spaces to give +5 to all of his stats and also give him the dull effect. So there are a lot of weapons which are just going to be better than the Excalibur weapon, and even young Merric is going to be better with his preferred weapon. So the weapons that Merric has don't really help him stand out that much, but Dark Excalibur definitely helps quite a lot, as I mentioned before, because he can definitely function similar to Sonya but be a lot bulky on the physical side. So overall, Merric definitely appreciates the extra stats, and he's definitely a unit which desperately needed any kind of extra stats that he could get. And he's not like unviable unit, definitely not. He does have his niche, as I explained before, with his bulk and with Dark Excalibur, so he can be used that way, but it will definitely take some investment. In my opinion, Merric works the best in Arena as a bulky green mage with green dual infantry 4 because he's from the free-to-play pool, but still we do have Bowie, who's also another extremely good option with his Raven Tome. Merric can also be used in Aether 8's defense with a pre-charge special with Dark Excalibur, so that's pretty much going to be where Merric is going to be used most. If you want to use him on a budget, then you can use him in Arena Assault, and you can easily run a Mage Dancer or Mages in Arena Assault without any kind of problem. So you can go with Fury 3 and Slade or even Triangle Adept if you want him to hit harder on those blue units. And Lancebreaker can definitely help you against stuff like Brave Hector. And Merric is not that frail on the physical side. He does have extra HP and also defense compared to most of the mages, so that actually helps you in Arena Assault situations against those really hard-hitting lance units. You can also run Dark Excalibur, but that will take extra divine dues, so that will allow you to have a pre-charged moonbow, and that can be pretty nice for nuking in Arena Assault. But this is pretty much the gist of how you want to use him on a budget. He doesn't have too many options. If you want to invest heavily into him, then Close File with lull attack speed is definitely going to be something that you'll be seeing a lot, because he has got more defense and HP than a lot of the average mages, so you can definitely utilize that with Close Foil. Unfortunately, his Excalibur Weapon Refine doesn't give him extra bulk, so that's a bit annoying, but it does give him -1 special cooldown, so Bonfire becomes a 2-turn special and he can trigger that in a single round of combat. And you can run a solo skill in Sacred Seal or even just run Mystic Boost for the self-sufficiency. You can also go with attack speed push for and lull speed resistance and go full offensive on him, and in my opinion, at max investment or even at lower merges, plus attack IV is the best IV for him because he really wants to get any kind of extra attack that he could possibly get, and he does have an attack super boon, so there's absolutely no reason to not go for it. So he can definitely go all out offensive with this kind of build. And with Excalibur and Time Pulse, he can have a pre-charged Ruptured Sky, and in the player phase, if the opponent can counterattack, then he can actually trigger Ruptured Sky twice in a combat, so that is definitely going to be helping Merric quite a lot with his damage output. Amity Blooms Plus is also an inheritable option from 4-star Valentine Alphonse, because his Excalibur weapon, Dark Excalibur, don't really give him the bulk which Merric can definitely utilize. So Amity Blooms Plus does give you the attack and resistance debuff along with the self-sufficiency, so that can definitely be helpful with a tanky build with Close File or Close Counter. Pelagian Torch is an incredibly good weapon like a lot of the Pelagian weapons, so it's no wonder that it's going to be extremely good on Merric as well, and it's definitely a very hard to get expensive option, but still if you're a big Merric fan, then Pelagian Torch can definitely be a really good weapon on him if you run Attack Res Menace especially, and that can give him a boost to his bulk as well as his damage output, and you can just run double solo skills for the synergy. You can also use him as an AoE spammer or just special spammer with Special Spiral with both of his weapons honestly. With Dark Excalibur, you're going to be getting that true damage, and keep in mind that the true damage does get added into the AoE damage, so you can pretty much do extra damage because of Dark Excalibur, and that is really good. But the thing is that you'll have to trigger the Heavy Blade checks, and Merric doesn't have the highest attack even at like max investment, and sometimes in Abyssal maps, you're going to be getting annoyed by attack debuffs and extremely high attack enemies, so Heavy Blade checks could be annoying at times. So if you just want to go with double life and death build without requiring any Heavy Blade checks, then it's also an option because Excalibur gives you -1 special cooldown, so you don't really need the Heavy Blade to just spam the specials once you have set up Special Spiral and the AoE special. So that's definitely an option if you want to use him for Abyssal content or for chain challenges, just the general PvE stuff basically. As I said before, he's pretty much the second best option out of the free-to-play pool when it comes to the best users of Green Dual Infantry 4, because he's a mage and he's a ranged unit, so it will help you manipulate the AI in arena, and having a ranged unit in your arena core definitely helps you quite a lot. And because of his Dark Excalibur, his bulk, he can definitely handle threats in the water season like Legendary Crom for example, and his resistance is low enough to the point where you can bait out +10 merge Legendary Azuras, and they will just get baited out instead of just dancing because they'll be doing more than 5 damage. So that's an option which you can run in the water season, and you can use them with Dark Excalibur, which will just charge up your Ruptured Sky, and you can spam Ruptured Sky with Special Spiral, which will definitely help you quite a lot against the blue threats and the threats in general. And that can be helpful against stuff like Fallen Edelgard. I mean, he's not one-shotting her whatsoever like a +10 merge one, but still like he can at least do a good chunk of damage because he can just have the special spam with Special Spiral, so that can help. You can also use him with Excalibur Tome, but this is kind of restrictive in your team building. Running a staff unit is completely out of the picture unless you're a whale, because the score penalty is just going to be brutal. You're going to be losing out on points because healers simply do not have high scoring assist skills or specials. And we don't even have the dual skill for the infantry colorless units, we just have it for the colorless cavalry units. So staff units are not going to be possible, which means that you need to have tome units on your team. So if you have them, then he's definitely an option. So you could run Excalibur, which will help you in matchups like Legendary Claude, especially in player phase, just to hit him really hard with Ruptured Sky and kill him. So that's going to be an option. And again, Time Pulse ends up becoming a really good option with these kinds of weapons that give you -1 special cooldown, because you can just have a pre-charged special like Ruptured Sky, and that is going to be helping you a lot. Lull attack resistance helps him a lot because everyone and their mom uses some kind of visible buff in arena with the rally skills, so it is going to be helping. And attack defense form can make him a lot bulky on the physical side, which he's already pretty good at. As I've said before, he also works incredibly well in Aether Raid's defense, just as a budget Sonya, or I guess mergeable Sonya if you want to call that. And he's actually going to be better than Sonya in some situations because of his high bulk, his high physical bulk especially. So you can run Sturdy Impact to give him pretty much 52 defense and add on Sturdy Blow to make it 56, and then have Pre-Charge Ignis if you just have one unit who can give him the Infantry Pulse, because with Dark Excalibur and Time Pulse you're bringing his cooldown to 3, and with just one Infantry Pulse he's going to have a Pre-Charge Ignis, which is going to be also getting the extra true damage. So it is going to be hitting incredibly hard. And he can also survive a lot of counterattacks because many of the attackers in Aether Raid's offense are going to be physically based. So having that high defense can definitely help you against them. And this is why I feel like at max investment, if you had to compare Sonya or Merric, Merric is going to be helping you a bit more, even though he has got less attack. But obviously, like, you will have to invest a lot of resources into Merric for this kind of build. It is not going to be cheap whatsoever. I mean, you can run cheap builds like Fury 3 and stuff like that, but you will still need like 2 Infantry Pulses, or like 1 Infantry Pulse and 1 Time Pulse, or just run Quick and Pulse, which is going to make it so that you're not going to be able to run Sturdy Blow or something that can increase your attack. So you'll definitely need some resources if you want to invest into Merric, as I said before. And you can also run him with an AoE build, and he can actually reach a pretty good amount of attack with double life and death and with the support of Seros. But the problem is that there are a lot of green mages that you can use on just unmerge or +1 merge, and they will give you pretty much similar effect and similar role. Like you can run Pent, for example, with his pre-charge special, and he can also help his allies, other mage allies. There's also young Merric, he's definitely hard to get. There's also Ophelia, who's much easier to set up with her AoE special and can even do it on a budget. So there are definitely other options which can do similar stuff, but Merric being green is definitely the highlight here because he has got better matchup against Brave Hector, one of the best units in Aether Raid's offense right now, and even just in general in game itself. So having that green color against Brave Hector is really helpful, but a lot of times extremely heavily invested Hectors with far save and stuff like that are gonna be annoying because they can pretty much avoid the AoE damage by putting an ally of theirs in front to take the AoE damage, and then they just have to take the in-combat damage. So that's why Windsweep can help you against Brave Hector in those scenarios, like far save Brave Hectors. And there are also a lot of slow tanks like Fallen Edelgard, for example. So Windsweep does help you when you're gonna be having this much speed. And you can definitely run Wings of Mercy or Lull Attack Resistance, but Windsweep is definitely an option that you can run to have that better matchup against those threats. So it's up to you which build you want to use for Aether Raid's defense. Sturdy Impact build with Pre-Charge Ignis is going to be helping you against those far save Brave Hectors because they're not going to be having Pulse Smoke most of the time. So it is going to be helping you beat those things and really threaten them with his high damage output and also his high physical bulk. But if you're not going to be doing that, then the AoE build is possible. But smart players are going to be able to avoid the AoE damage with an ally and just use their far save Brave Hector to tank rest of Merric. Windsweep is therefore there to just make it more annoying for them. And finally, if you want to use him in Aether Raid's offense, then here's the build. In my opinion, this is the weakest aspect of Merric because there are just so many other better mages who can do the similar thing to Merric, and they have better attack and better resistance. Merric is really usable in the light season because he can get the extra resistance from Dagger and also Air. So you can run him with the Pelagian Torch build. It's definitely pretty expensive, but with Milad Sabotage attack, Temari Plus from Air, you can definitely get it going. But like being green is not the best because you have to face Duo Lif and Legendary Lilina and stuff like that, and also Legendary Seeker not to mention. So if you can pair him up with a near safe tank, but Aether Raid's offense is definitely his weakest aspect. He's much better in Aether Raid's defense and arena. And now let's talk about what if Merric got a re-refine to both of his weapons. So with a unit like Merric who has got low attack stat, usually there are two ways of going about things. You can make him have a supported weapon refine, or you could give him some kind of true damage to patch up his attack stat. So the Excalibur weapon refine actually does both of the things which I have here. So the primary condition is same, effective damage against flying units and -1 special cooldown. However, the weapon refine is a lot flexible and does more things for him. So if he initiates combat or if he's within 2 spaces of an ally, he can get +5 to all of his stats and deal true damage 30% of his speed during the combat, and after combat he can grant -1 special cooldown to himself and allies within 2 spaces. So he does get the true damage to fix his attack stat and also supports his allies with a special cooldown reduction as well as himself. So just to give you a perspective, with 30% true damage at base, at unmerged, with this weapon refine, Merric is going to be getting 11 points of true damage per hit. And it's really easy to scale it up to something like 18 true damage if you just have a lot of investment on him. And I feel like that definitely helps him with his damage output, which is going to be lackluster as we get bulkier units. And his original Excalibur weapon refine does nothing to really address that. +5 attack is simply not enough for a unit like Merric in my opinion. So this does support, this also gives him true damage, and it's a lot easier to trigger, and this would be really fun honestly if we had this. And now time for the Dark Excalibur weapon refine. So keep in mind that Excalibur is only present on Merric, and Dark Excalibur is present on both Sonya and Merric here. So Sonya got it first and then later Merric got it. So here's the Dark Excalibur weapon refine theorycraft. I feel like this should definitely have -1 special cooldown so that it can be abused with stuff like Time Pulse, and that would definitely make it quite potent. So it still has the +10 true damage. However, it is going to be having the Deadeye effect, so it is going to be piercing through any kind of damage reduction skills like Close Call, Repel, or stuff like that, which is definitely pretty nice. It kind of goes in with the crit thing that Excalibur has, and also the fact that Dark Excalibur is Sonya's weapon. And Sonya comes from Shadows of Valentia, and in that game, magic ignores the terrain Avoid. So it's pretty much negating the dodge in a sense, and dodge skills in FEH are the damage reduction skills officially stated by FEH. So that's why it fits Sonya really well. So Excalibur is kind of centered around Merric, and like I believe like Excalibur had 30% crit rate in New Mystery of the Emblem. So 30% based on speed is definitely pretty in theme, and Dark Excalibur is going to be having that Deadeye effect. So I feel like he will have 2 really good options to choose from, which is definitely much better than what he has right now. So I'll be eager to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. And make sure to share this video with your friends who are thinking of building a Merric because of his new art or are just big Merric fans. And I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support. If you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Help me tremendously, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as Merric's Excalibur weapon refine when you have no tome or staff unit on your team. So that's it, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.